Hey guys, Brian with Cajun Cardboard coming at you from the great state of Louisiana. Who is the NBA's most improved player this season? I know there's Vegas odds out there. I know there's articles out there about it. This is going to be just my particular take on it. And as usual, I'm going to go above and beyond, way beyond just telling you who I think the most improved player is. I'm going to tell you why I think he's the most improved player. And I'm going to give you 10 names in descending order of who I think the most improved player was. Again, I put a little bit of thought into this. I didn't do crazy deep dives. If you get into the analytics, you can go and go and go and go. And I'm sure I'm going to get flamed in the comments for some of my takes on this most improved player award. Again, we're going to start looking at all the different awards, including the MVP, which may be a foregone conclusion, unfortunately, as a Bucks fan. But we're going to look at a bunch of different awards, including all NBA first team, second team, third team, defensive player of the year, coach of the year, etc. We're going to start today with my Cajun Cardboard's personal most improved player this season. So without any more delay, let's get started. First, before I switch you over to picture-in-picture and we start going through the 10 players in descending order that I think are at least worthy of consideration for the award, three names that didn't make the list that it took huge steps forward. Robert Williams, difficult sometimes to measure players' defensive impact on the game. But Robert Williams' analytical measures, especially on the defensive end, but also on the offensive end, believe it or not, are astronomical. Huge steps forward. Kyle Kuzma would be the other one who took a huge step forward. He is on the list, not in the top 10, but certainly in consideration. And then Wendell Carter being the third one. Those three guys certainly deserve some mention. I never thought I'd say that about Wendell Carter, but if you all go take a look at his statistics, he's a double-double average, coming off a relatively paltry, terrible season, in my opinion. I thought he was just a big stiff, but he was very productive. Again, part of that is because he's playing in Orlando, and he's, that's a G League team, and he's got all the opportunity in the world, with only Mo Bamba pushing him, which is not to say that anybody's really pushing him. But he actually shot the ball pretty well from three-point percentage, average double-double. So those three guys, Robert Williams, Kuzma, and Wendell Carter, congrats to those guys. They took a huge step forward and probably made a lot of money in the process. But let's switch you over now. We're going to look at our list. Number one on our list, a guy that I am absolutely massively high on. I have tons of his cards. I certainly very much have his best interest in mind. Anthony Simons. The reason he couldn't sneak further up the list, he was on pace to, but he couldn't, is he just didn't play enough games. And so I've got his statistics pulled up here on the screen for you. What I've done is I've gone into basketballreference.com. I've got last season on the top row here that you can see highlighted, and then I've got this season now highlighted on the second row. So basically I'm just comparing each player's last season to this season. We will scroll down here a little bit and look at PER and things like that. And so you can see Anthony Simons' PER jumped from 12.3 to 15.3, and his win shares jumped a little bit. I've got him in here just because of his aggregate numbers. So he went from 17 minutes a game. He tacked on almost 13 minutes a game, 12.2 minutes a game. He more than doubled his field goal attempts. His field goal percentage was significantly up. His two-point percentage especially was way up to 49%. His effective field goal percentage was fantastic last year, taking fewer, less contested shots, but he maintained almost the same effective field goal percentage this year as honestly as the focal point of the team during about a 20-game stretch where it seemed like the Blazers either traded everybody or everybody was injured. And you can see his points per game went up almost a full 10 points, which is unheard of. So jumping to a 17.3 points per game player, more than doubling his assists, increasing his rebounds, shooting at almost 89% from the free throw line on a 55% effective field goal percentage. I mean, the guy was almost a 50-40-90. That is pretty good for a 22-year-old kid who has not yet gotten consistent minutes and literally not yet been handed the ball in the NBA. Next year, it holds unbelievable potential for Anthony Simons. Anthony Simons is number 10 on our list. Number 9 is going to be Tyler Hero. You guys are probably going to be a little bit shocked that I don't have him higher up the list. He's clear-cut. Well, I shouldn't say clear-cut, but he's going to win the Sixth Man of the Year award. We'll look at that award as well. But for most improved player, I didn't move him up because his jump, it wasn't as astronomical as I thought it was. He did jump right at 5 points per game, 5.6 points per game. He played about 2.3 extra minutes per game. His field goal percentage was still a steady 44.7 considering how many threes he took. And he jumped his three-point percentage to 39.9%, almost that 40%, which is really impressive. So 45% field goals, 40% threes. His free throw percentage jumped as we knew it would. That usually happens with young players who are proficient shooters in the league. Their free throw percentage continues to rise until they get to their prime. You know, we averaged about the same rebounds, a little bit more assists, the same steals, fewer blocks, more turnovers. Again, he improved, but he didn't improve at the rate that he needed to. You know, it's obviously if you're holding a bunch of Tyler Hero cards, you're probably pretty excited about the year he had, and it's only a matter of time before he does get rid of this six-man nonsense. Another reason I penalize Tyler Hero is because he's playing the predominance of his minutes against second units, and that's just not the same. So Tyler Hero, 9th on our list. 8th on our list is Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey took a pretty damn big step forward. If you look at his minutes, he more than doubled them, so that's a big part of the reason why his numbers are going to be so drastically improved. But you'll see he started 8 games last year. He started 74 games this year, and he jumped to a 48% field goal percentage shooter from the field. And what really, I think, shocked people is, you know, the question about Tyrese Maxey coming out of Kentucky was whether or not he can shoot the three ball. The kid shot 42.7% on 4.1 threes per game after shooting only 30% last year. And so he really took a massive step forward there. He also took about 4 more 2-point field goal attempts per game. His effective field goal percentage was .552. I mean, compared to Tyler Hero, that's better. Tyler Hero shot 40% from 3. Maxey shot 42.7% from 3. I don't know what to say. So for that reason, Maxey's ahead of Tyler Hero on my list. His scoring average went up 9.5 points per game, all the way to 17.5. And for most of the season, I guess he was the beta to, Embiid's alpha, until Harden got there. And even still, he's still producing. He's still consistent. He's doing it on both ends. He's a fantastic defensive perimeter defender. If we go down here and we look at his analytics stuff, let's see, where did I go? Here we go. His PER is 16.2 with the league average being 15, so he took that jump from below league average to above league average, and he's got a 7.3 win shares, which is another stat that I like to look at. So Tyrese Maxey, number 8 on our list. Number 7 on our list, Desmond Bane. Okay, so some people may have him a little bit higher. I don't have him quite as high. I don't think he had quite as much responsibility. Again, he did take on a little bit more responsibility in those games where Morant was out, which there were quite a few, and he did improve. Don't get me wrong. I just have him here at 7th. If we look at his numbers a little bit closer, a lot more minutes, 7 more minutes per game. And again, part of that is attributable to Morant being out so much. 46.1%. His field goal percentage was actually down a little bit. His threes were the same. Fantastic last year, fantastic this year. The only difference is he took a heck of a lot more this year. He took almost 7 threes a game. So taking 7 threes a game, shooting 43.6%, that is nothing to sneeze at. That's serious, guys. 56% effective field goal percentage is impressive, but it's down from the year before. Free throw percentage up over 90%. So he was 46, 44, 43.6, and 90% split. That is impressive for a second-year guard, albeit an old one who spent a few years in college. Rebounds were up, assists were up, steals were doubled, blocks were doubled, and 18.2 points is almost double his average. So Desmond Bane, I probably could have snuck him a little bit further up the list, but he sits at number 6 on my list. Again, we're splitting hairs here because really it's going to come down to 1, 2, or 3. I don't think anybody truly believes Desmond Bane should be the most improved player in the NBA, but he absolutely belongs in the top 10. And you know what? I'm not going to argue with you if you think he belongs in the top 5. Honestly, from this point forward, it gets very, very difficult to distinguish between some of these guys and the steps they took. Really, to me, it just comes down to how much responsibility the rest of the guys have that are on this list ahead of Desmond Bane. I don't feel like he had quite as much responsibility as the rest of the guys on the list as that combo guard, with Morant being such a high usage rate player. Again, I know that Morant was out a lot, so we had to do some things, but let's keep going. So Jordan Poole. Next on our list, the same thing that could be said about Desmond Bane could be said about Jordan Poole. He plays in an offense where, I don't think quite as much depends on him. He's got so many studs around him. He's got Draymond. He's got Clay. He's got, obviously Steph when healthy. I mean, tremendous team, tremendous coaching staff. The ball never sticks. It moves. So Jordan Poole didn't have quite as much responsibility as some of these guys that are going to be ahead of him on the list that we're about to look at. But look at his jump here. So he went from starting 7 games, playing 51, to starting 51, playing 76. So super durable, 30 minutes a game. His field goal percentage actually increased despite taking 4.6 more threes per game. His three-point percentage was pretty good last year at 35. Even better this year at 36.4. That's taking 7.6 a game. That's a monster number right there. That's more than Tyler Hero. That's more than Maxey. That's more than Bane. So that's a lot of threes per game right there, fellas. He shot 92.5% from the free throw line. That is a humongous number for a 22-year-old. If he's shooting 92.5 right now, he's going to get bigger. He's going to get stronger. His endurance is going to improve. He's going to be more consistent. That is a scary number. If that could jump to the 94, 95 mark, I mean, that's just like historic type numbers. 92.5 is nothing to sneeze at for a 22-year-old perimeter player. Again, he's taking 3.5 per game. That's not like he's taking 1 a game or 2 every other game. This is 3.5 per game. That's over 200 free throws on the season, shooting 92.5%. His rebounds almost doubled. His assists did double. His steals went up. His blocks went up. His turnovers went up because he had the ball a lot more and played 11 more minutes a game and was actually required to do a little bit more and run the offense a little bit here and there depending on the personnel on the floor. But his points are all the way up, 6.5 points to 18.5. So he's become a legitimate potential future star and obviously a really hot player in the basketball card market. And so people are really high on Jordan Poole and his potential. It's just a matter of waiting, right? It's the same with Anthony Simons and Kevin Porter and some of these other guys. They can do it. You just got to wait until Steph and Clay fade out. It might take a while, right? Anthony Simons had to wait for CJ and Dame to get out of there before he could really show what he can do. Jordan Poole's just now starting to break through and just now starting to show some of those things. I wish I had some Jordan Poole cards. I own this many, 0, not 1. Missed the boat there, but can't win them all. Next on the list is Miles Bridges. Again, like I said, Miles Bridges, Jordan Poole, Bane, these guys could all be flip-flop, but Miles Bridges here, I've got him on your screen for you to check out. Last year he started only 19 games. This year he was a clear-cut starter, as consistent gets. 80 games started, 80 games played, 35.5, a whopping 35.5 minutes per game. He's built like a Mack truck, so not surprisingly he was durable and consistent. He upped his field goal attempts to 15.2. Again, the reason he probably didn't sneak into my top 2 or 3 is simply because he kind of faded at the end. Again, his numbers are still going to be fantastic and an improvement over last season, but he faded at the end. He came out gangbusters, like he was going to average 27, 28 points a game, and everybody was, flooding to snatch as many of his cards as they possibly could. And then he just kind of, I don't want to say fizzled out, because he still finished the year well, and we'll see what they can do. I think they're in the play-in, so we'll see what they can do in the play-in game this week. But so Miles Bridges is coming in at number 5, right, just inside the top 5. And again, he could have been flip-flop with any of the 2 guys we just talked about. Field goal percentage went down to 49%. 3-point percentage went down because he was taking more, but 33% from 40% last year. Effective field goal percentage down, but here's where his numbers really start to go. So his rebounds went up to 7, his assists went up to 3.8, his steals went up to 0.9, his blocks stayed the same, and his points jumped over 20 points per game. So almost 8 points per game increase in his scoring average. His PER jumped all the way from below league average to 17.9, which is a big number, and his win shares jumped to 7.2. So a lot to be excited about if you're a Miles Bridges collector. I remember coaching in the EYBL and seeing Miles Bridges playing for the Michigan team, and he looked like a man amongst boys even back then. I was worried he was a little undersized to play in the NBA, but he's transitioned to that wing position where he becomes plus sized. So really impressive player who's really worked on his perimeter game, his shooting, his ball handling, and his creativity to turn into a really dang good player. So Miles Bridges, number 5. Number 4 on our list, No surprise here. Some of you may think he should be higher, and maybe he should. This is very unique, right? So we're talking about somebody going from their age 31 to their age 32 season. This is DeMar DeRozan, right? He has been the rock for the Chicago Bulls this year. As you can see, he played 76 games. He played 36 minutes a game. That is a load for a 32-year-old. I remember there were people saying that DeMar DeRozan was the worst free agent signing of the entire offseason for the Bulls, right? People were so down on DeMar DeRozan. But let's look at his numbers. So he tacked on 5 field goal attempts per game over and above last season. Shot over 50% from the field. Shot 35% from 3. This is a guy that rarely takes threes. He took 1.9 threes per game. Now again, 35% could be a little bit misleading. It would lead you to believe he's a better than average three-point shooter. It might be because he was very open. You know that phrase where coaches say you're open for a reason? Well, he was open for a reason. People didn't consider him a prolific or efficient three-point shooter, but he only takes good ones. And then when you only take good ones and clean looks, your percentages are going to go up no matter who you are, right? So 35% was a nice, huge jump, almost a 10% jump over last year where he shot 25.7%. And historically in his career, he's just not a good three-point shooter and doesn't take very many, which is fine. That's what makes him unique and special. 52.1 effective field goal percentage. His typical phenomenal free throw shooting at a very high clip of 7.8 free throws per game. So 88% from the free throw line, 5.2 rebounds per game, 4.9 assists per game, 0.9 steals, 0.3 blocks, 27.9 points per game. So an 8-point jump for someone who's already averaging 21.6 points per game. That's impressive. And I think, honestly, I think it was just like a huge right hook to all of us who love and watch the NBA. Nobody could ever have predicted DeMar DeRozan did what he did this season. I mean, he was legitimately in the MVP conversation for about a 2 or 3 month period where it was just like, he can't keep this up. What's going on? He's just on a heater. And then he just kept doing it and doing it and doing it. And he finished the season super healthy, super consistent. And the Bulls tailed off, but a lot of that had to do with, you know, Patrick Williams injury, Lonzo Ball injury, Caruso injury, Levine now in and out of the lineup with little knick-knack stuff. So I think the Bulls are going to, honestly, I think they're going to get swept. I think the Bucks are going to sweep them. I am very biased. I'll be the first one to admit that. But DeMar DeRozan comes in at number 4 on our most improved player list. Let me know what you think. If you go down here and look at his PER, the highest yet, right? 23.1. That's a monster number, and 8.8 win shares. So even the analytics support a humongous jump by DeMar DeRozan. Next on our list is the young Kyrie 2.0, Darius Garland. Again, in all transparency, I'm very high on Darius Garland, but I don't think I'm out of bounds in saying he's one of the 3 most improved players in the league. Certainly he's one of the 10 most, which is what our list is comprised of today. I've got him at number 3. If you look at his numbers, his games are up, his minutes are up, his field goal attempts are up, his field goal percentage is up 11% from an already good 45.1% last year. He's taking significantly more threes and still shooting at 38%. His effective field goal percentage is at 53%, which is great for a little tiny guy. I say tiny, a little 6'2" guy. His free throws are up as far as volume, and his free throw percentage is 89.2%. And so you're looking at 46, 38, 89% splits, which is super impressive for a 22-year-old. His rebounds are up almost 1 rebound per game. His assists are way up to 8.6, so he's become that elite floor leader, floor general point guard. His steals are up, and his blocks stay the same. That's not what he's bringing to the team. His blocks sort of vertically challenged, but averaging 21.7 points per game. Darius Garland's fantastic. His PER from below league average all the way up to 19, and his win shares at 6.3. Again, I'm sorry, we could look at tons more analytical stuff. We can look at VORP and JORP and MORP and all this other stuff. There's a million things we could look at. I'm trying to keep this video under 17 hours. So Darius Garland comes in at number 3 on our list. Brilliant young player who a lot of people are high on. And let's see what the Cavs can do in the playoffs. This is going to be very interesting to see. They need Jarrett Allen healthy. They need Evan Mobley healthy to have any chance. They play a very different brand of basketball. And Darius Garland is the only little munchkin out there who's running the show. And then you've got these monsters, right, with Markkanen and Mobley, and Jarrett Allen all on the court at the same time. I mean, it's nuts. And Okoro's a big big, gigantic, strong, 2-guard, 3-and-D guy. So interesting team. They play a little different brand of basketball. Kevin Love's a giant. They got a bunch of big old dudes out there. So they're kind of going against conventional wisdom and this pace and space nonsense, and putting the ball in Darius Garland's hand, and then just bullying the heck out of people, to be honest with you. Next on the list, DeJounte Murray. So DeJounte Murray being at number 2, probably, you guys can conclude who number 1 is if you watch a lot of the NBA this year. DeJounte Murray is an All-NBA player this year, period. I don't care what anybody says. He may not get third-team All-NBA, but he deserves it. The jump that he took was truly magical. I used to have a huge stake in the basketball card market in DeJounte Murray, and I cashed out way too soon. I did not lose money because I bought all the cards way back in 2016, and I sold them around probably around 2018, 2019, so I did fine. But I would like to have my hundreds of DeJounte Murray Prism rookie cards back today that I don't have anymore. So sad story for Cajun Cardboard on DeJounte Murray, but I'm still a huge fan because I love the way he plays. He's a filthy defensive player, and his offensive game is just jumped by leaps and bounds. So let's take a look. 35 minutes a game, shooting almost four more field goals per game, up to 18.3. He plays an efficient game, 46% from the field. Not a great three-point shooter yet, but he's open because he can slither by everybody, and slither is the best way to describe his game. He's just silky smooth and long and lean, and he's very efficient with his dribble. He doesn't pound it, right? He doesn't pound it like like a Kyrie or Garland or some of these other guys who just kind of dribble the air out of the ball. He's just a really silky smooth, big, long strides and great footwork. And he's really developed on the offensive end. I mean, he really was not an offensive player to speak of when he came into the league. But, he averaged 15.7 last year. But look at what he's done this year. He's over 50% effective field goal percentage now. He's bumped his free throw shooting. He's pushing 80%. But this is where it gets nuts. 8.3 rebounds, 9.2 assists, 2 steals a game, and 0.3 blocks per game. So he's 21, 8.3, 9.2. I mean, those are monster numbers, okay? Those are all NBA numbers. I don't know if he's going to get it. I was glad to see he made the All-Star team. I think he was an injury replacement maybe. If I recall, maybe he made it, but I think it was an injury replacement. But really happy to see he made the All-Star team because it was well-deserved despite the fact he plays in anonymity down in San Antonio. But 21.1, 8.3, and 9.2 is bonkers. So DeJounte's number 2. Which leads us to number 1, which you guys, I'm sure, can figure out. This player took a leap from super prospect to absolute superstar, and that's Ja Morant. I did not realize the jump he took until I looked closer at the jump he took. Playing about the same minutes. Again, I wish he'd have gotten more games under his belt, but there's this narrative out there, and Chris Hoge is gonna not like this video. He might send me a nasty DM for putting Ja Morant most improved because he likes to dig into the analytics and whatnot. But Ja Morant has the it factor. I don't know how else to say it. And again, I don't own a large stake in Ja Morant, so I don't have a dog in this hunt really. But his field goal percentage went from 44.9 to 49.3. He's taking more threes and shooting 34%. That, I think, is what shocked everybody. And let me explain this to you for those of you who don't watch a ton of NBA basketball. When you jump from a 30% three-point shooter to a 34.4% three-point shooter who is a willing shooter and willing to take those threes, that means the perimeter defender has to get closer to you. When you're a perimeter defender and you have to get closer to Ja Morant, you can no longer keep him in front of you. So that is a double-edged sword. His percentage going up means his ability to drive is going to increase dramatically. And that's what we saw this year. He lived in the paint. I believe as a little munchkin, he led the league in paint points, if I'm not mistaken. I need to double check that, but at one point during the season, late in the season, he was leading the NBA in paint points over Giannis, which is just preposterous. So 34% from three-point range was a huge surprise for everybody. His effective field goal percentage jumped over the 50% mark to 53%. He shot 76% from free throws. He needs to improve on that because he's going to shoot 1 million of them if he stays in one piece. He shot 7.3. That's a big clip right there, but 76% is a good number. He needs to get that to 80% to be the point guard of a championship team. Then look, his rebounds are up 1.7. His assists are a little bit down because he started to score the goodness out of it, and he started taking, 5 more shots a game, over 5 more shots a game. He's over 20 field goal attempts per game. His blocks are doubled, and his points jumped way up to 8.3 points to 27.4, one of the best scorers in the entire NBA. His PER jumped to 24.4. He was above league average last year, and this year he was at 24.4, with a huge usage rate, and his win shares, where are they? 6.7. So, he checks all the boxes. He certainly checks all the boxes for must-see TV and league pass quality material. So that's it. That's my list, guys. Let me know what you think. Just to kind of recap it, we got Anthony Simons, we've got Tyler Hero, we got Maxey, we got Bane, and we got Poole on the outside looking in from 10 through 6, and then 5 through 1. And again, it was tough, man. 8 through 4 was kind of tough. But then we got Bridges, DeRozan, Garland, DeJounte Murray, and Ja Morant. Obviously, I didn't sort it by position or anything like that. Let me know what I left out. Let me know if there's anybody in my top 10. And then remember, I had Rob Williams, Kyle Kuzma, and Wendell Carter as, 3 on the outside looking in. I'm sure there's a lot more, and again, there's going to be some guys that used to average 3 points a game that averaged 11, right? And those guys take big jumps too, but I think there's just some expectation that your most improved player becomes I don't want to necessarily say he has to become an all-star level player, but it's got to be a pretty big jump into relevance, so a guy like Tyus Jones or, somebody who just kind of really went from absolutely nothing to, heck, this guy can actually play, can't be in there. You got to take that step to super prospect, super, all-star, knocking on the all-star door kind of deal like that. But anyway, that's my list, guys. Let me know who you think I should have included in the list that I didn't. Let me know if you disagree with my Garland, Murray, Ja Morant top 3. Let me know who you think is actually going to win it. I think Ja Morant is actually going to win it. Last I checked, I think the Vegas odds were like minus 1,000 for him to win it. He's got the support of the people. He's a super exciting player. He's a super prospect now. He's just a super alpha, that does things on the court that are going to be on YouTube videos for a very, very long time. He's like a little miniature Blake Griffin, right? You remember when Blake Griffin took the league by storm? Morant's doing the same thing. I mean, he's just, he's one of those guys, and we got a lot of them in the league right now. And most of them are at the perimeter position. So he's super exciting to watch. But that's my list, guys. Thanks for watching. Keep collecting to stay positive in the hobby, and peace.